Amara was known as the responsible one. At 27, she worked as a nurse in Lagos. She paid her bills on time, avoided drama, and stayed focused on building a better future. But everything changed the day she discovered her fiancé had secretly married another woman. The betrayal shattered her completely. For weeks, she cried herself to sleep, pretending to be strong during the day while breaking apart inside. One Friday night, after another exhausting shift, her co-workers convinced her to join them at a rooftop lounge. At first, she refused, but eventually, she gave in. That single decision would change her entire life. The music was loud, the drinks kept coming, and for the first time in months, Amara stopped thinking about her pain. That was when she met him. His name was Daniel. Tall, calm, and strangely comforting. Unlike the other men at the lounge, he didn't flirt aggressively or try to impress her. Instead, they talked about heartbreak, about loneliness, about how exhausting life could become. For hours, they laughed like old friends who had known each other forever. And somewhere between the alcohol, the emotions, and the loneliness, boundaries disappeared. That night, Amara went home with him. The next morning, reality hit hard. Amara woke up inside Daniel's hotel room and instantly felt ashamed. "What have I done?" she whispered to herself. Before Daniel even woke up, she quietly dressed up and left. She ignored the phone number he had slipped into her handbag. To her, that night was a mistake she wanted to forget forever. But 6 weeks later, everything changed. Two pink lines appeared on a pregnancy test. Amara frozen. In shock, her hands trembled as tears filled her eyes. "No, this can't be happening." She sank to the bathroom floor, terrified. She wasn't married, she was emotionally unstable, and financially she was barely surviving. To her, the pregnancy felt like punishment, and in her panic, she made a decision. She would terminate it. Before going through with the procedure, Amara decided to call Daniel, not because she wanted help, but because she felt he deserved to know. When he answered, her voice was cold and emotionless. "I'm pregnant." Silence filled the phone. Then Daniel asked quietly, "Where are you?" Amara quickly replied, "I'm not keeping it. I just thought you should know." She expected anger, or denial, or accusations. But instead, Daniel simply said, "Can I see you before you decide?" Reluctantly, she agreed. The next evening, they met at a small cafe. Amara came prepared for an argument, but Daniel looked nervous. For a long moment, he stared silently at the table before finally speaking. "3 years ago," he said softly, "my wife died during childbirth." Amara's eyes widened. "I lost both her and my daughter the same day." The words hit her like a wave. Daniel swallowed painfully before continuing. "After that, I stopped caring about life." He looked directly into her eyes. "The night I met you was the first time I had laughed in years." Amara didn't know what to say. Then Daniel said something she would never forget. "I'm not asking you to marry me, and I'm not trying to control your decision. But if fear is the reason you want to end this pregnancy, then don't carry that fear alone." Amara felt tears forming instantly. For the first time since seeing the pregnancy test, she felt seen. Daniel never pressured her. Instead, he simply showed up. He drove her to hospital appointments, bought groceries when morning sickness left her too weak to cook, sat quietly beside her during nights filled with anxiety and fear. Little by little, Amara's walls began to break down, and slowly, fear turned into hope. One rainy afternoon, while folding tiny baby clothes Daniel had bought, Amara suddenly stopped. She looked down at the tiny outfit in her hands and smiled through tears. At that moment, she realized something. She no longer wanted to terminate the pregnancy, not because anyone forced her, but because she finally believed she wasn't alone anymore. Months later, Amara gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Inside the delivery room, Daniel held the child against his chest and cried openly. Amara watched him quietly from the hospital bed, and suddenly she remembered the terrified woman who once sat alone on a bathroom floor, believing her life was over. But she was wrong. Her life hadn't ended. It had simply changed direction. Sometimes, the people we meet during our darkest moments become the reason we finally heal.